So just to kick off, Mike, just so people can get to know a little bit about you and how you came into all this. And one thing you and I really deeply share is that we were both strongly impacted by Sri Aurobindo's work. And I'm wondering if you could just share a little bit about your own encounter with Sri Aurobindo, how that impacted the course of your life, and maybe even what it is about Sri Aurobindo that really set his vision apart from the traditional Indian spiritual matrix in which he arose.
I first heard the name from my professor at Stanford. I was just a sophomore there, 19 years old. That's quite a while ago, in 1950. Frederick Spiegelberg was the great professor, and in a course of comparative religious studies, he ended it with Sri Aurobindo and the Life Divine after having taken a survey of the great traditions, starting with the Vedas and the Upanishads, and then in the great contemplative traditions of all the great religions, ended with Ramakrishna as the avatar of, the deep core of the perennial wisdom in all the traditions, this, tremendous genius of Ramakrishna. And then Aurobindo. I went home the summer after that course and read The Life Divine and came back and eventually dropped out of the pre-med track I was on and out of my fraternity. And anyways, I spent the last 2 years at Stanford strengthening my inquiries into what Sri Aurobindo opened up for me. Now, the thing that differentiated Aurobindo from everything else in that first course on comparative religious studies that I was in at 19, the signature feature was his embedding of the great perennial wisdoms in the facts, or the fact of evolution, that the cosmos itself is in this stupendous unfoldment, and everything has to be seen in the light of that fact. And with that, he presented an integral vision of interiority and work in the world, and it was a vision of things that required, and I think one way to put this, Craig, is that personal and social and physical and every dimension is mutually entailed in the other. Yes, you can focus in one or another aspect of our very complex being, but what is neglected always comes back to get you. In some sense, Freud's doctrine of the return of the repressed. If we repress the physical side of our nature, it will return to insist, knock on the door, and it must be listened to. Vice versa, if we suppress the contemplative mystical, it'll haunt us in our dreams, and however. So anyway, that sense of the evolutionary adventure and the notion of the integral fired me up more than anything else. And as the years have gone by, Craig, Aurobindo gets better and better for me, even though I become more and more critical of certain aspects of his vision too. So that's something we might want to talk about. If Sri Aurobindo were alive today, he would be questioning some aspects of his own vision. Indeed, that's what he did throughout most of his life. Anyway, that's a first broad brush, a couple of remarks, Craig, on what is a very, very big subject for me of the centrality of Sri Aurobindo in my own inspiration.